Hey there, everybody. We're going to be working on Autodesk Inventor today. And if you remember, we left off with some basic little isometric parts here and simple isometric drawings. Peekaboo. Anyway, notice that I keep saying this in class as well. So you always want to make sure that you figure out the overall size of the object, okay? That construction box. What is that minimum box? So if you're going to package this thing up and ship it off, what is that minimum space that you actually can have around that? So if you were to get a chunk of material and physically build this part or this thing, um, how small of a block, right? A rectangular prism can you actually have or fit this in? And it's easy on these sheets here. You can actually go through and figure out by drawing them in and figuring out the overall height, width, and depth. Okay, that's going to be important. So always start off by doing it on paper in your notes first, figuring out overall height, width, and depth. And especially as you're going along, it helps to mark off and measure some of the features as well. So you can kind of roll through these really quickly. And that's how I get through them pretty quickly in my tutorials here. So I'm going to be doing 4 more for you today, and then I'll come back and finish up the sheet in another video. So I'm going to share my screen out to you. And here goes Inventor, and that's my screen. And I'm going to get rid of that. And I am going to new. All right. Or I can go up here and go to new part, which makes my life a little easier. I'll expand that out. And just like we always start, we make sure we have our ribbon bar up here and we have our browser. And again, if your browser isn't there, it's view user interface browser. Just make sure that that's checked off there to get that back. And this little thing right here, this little flyout here, is where you can adjust your ribbon bar by clicking it a bunch of times till it comes back the way you like it. So I'm going to come back in here to 3D Model tab in my ribbon bar. Make sure I'm on Start a 2D Sketch. Start a new sketch on the XY plane, just like we've been doing so far along. And we're going to always start our sketch on the origin. And since we're going to be doing this using that same method with that construction box, just like in all of our other drawing techniques, we're going to start on the origin, drag that out, and we're going to start on part 5 here. And part 5 happens to be 8 in width, hit the tab key, 5 in height, hit enter, and then we can use the home key on the keyboard, or we can click that home there, and then we get an isometric view right away, which is okay for this shape. Okay, I'm going to finish the sketch. All right, now I need to extrude, and I need to pick my distance, and my distance here that I need to extrude out is 5. Hit enter. And again, you could always hit the home key on the keyboard or this home up here to return to an isometric. As a good side note, the home key on the keyboard will just zoom all to your screen and it won't actually adjust your view and twist your cube around, where the home up here, all right, is going to switch you to an isometric view. So if you're in sketching mode, make sure you hit the home on the keyboard. It makes your life a little easier. So I'm going to create a 2D sketch. I'm going to put a 2D sketch. What's the easiest way to do it? I'm going to stick a 2D sketch right here. And I want to cut off this corner. So I'm going to hit home on my keyboard just to fill my screen. Grab my 2-point rectangle. Now you might have a different rectangle. You see all the rectangles we have here, but I want this 2-point rectangle. It's the one I want. Start up in this corner, make sure that I get my green dot. So I'm stuck right there. I have a constraint there. And this needs to be 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3. So 3 tab 3. Finish this sketch. Now I can extrude, cut, and why not? We'll go to next, which will be to the next surface there. That's why you see it red right there. That looks good. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a new sketch. And why don't I start by practicing spinning this view cube around a little bit. All right, and I am going to put a new sketch here, home on my keyboard. And I need to cut out another slot. So I'm going to grab my 2-point rectangle tool, come down here so I make sure that I have a coincident constraint right here. And I need a rectangle here that is going to be 3 tall And how wide is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 wide. So 4 tab 3, enter. Okay. And we have to remember to dimension using our dimension. And if that's 4, this needs to be 2. And then the remainder over here will be 2 as well. And if you don't believe me, remember we can click, get the error saying we have an over-constrained sketch. Do we want to accept the driven constraint, which just means it's in parentheses and we can't change it because we have 4 and 2, and that we have an overall size over there of 8, and math says it can't change. So let's finish this sketch. All right, and I'm going to extrude. I want to extrude that geometry, but I can't really see anything, so I'm going to go to my back to my isometric view, and I want to cut. All right, and 5 works just fine. And there we go. And you can hit the home key if you want to get that back nice and centered. And there we are with part 5. Done. So make sure you save it. Again, you want to save everything in the same folder. Make your life nice and easy. Next, I'm going to do a new part. New part. New 2D sketch. XY plane. All right, and I'm going to start drawing out my bounds here. I'm going to grab my 2-point rectangle. I'm going to start on my origin. I'm going to start to drag up and over, and that one is going to be 8 tab 6, enter, home, and you get 8 by 6 here. And then I can finish my sketch, home, extrude. And notice how this is automatically highlighted over here. So I don't need to click on anything. I can just type right off the bat. And I know that has to be 5. Enter. Boom. And you can see just from some quick inputs there, we can get our starting point real nice and easy. From here, I want to cut off this corner. So I'm going to grab a 2D sketch, plunk that here. Home. Now I can see again. 2-point rectangle. I'm going to start on this corner and figure out how much I want to cut off. I want to cut off 2 tab 4, enter. All right, that's how much I want to cut off. And again, since I've already pre-measured this out before, these numbers I've already have written down. And I want to cut. I want to cut all the way to the next surface. That's this 2 next. And click OK. There we go. That was pretty simple. Now I need to cut out a little rectangle in here. So instead of grabbing the 2D sketch, I can select my face. I can right click, and then I can go to new sketch. Now, if I want to be all kinds of fancy, I know new sketch is down on the bottom of this wheel here. See how it kind of starts drawing a line around in a circle? So if I want to be fancy, I could just right click and drag down, and it'll automatically give me a new sketch. All right. But I have a touchpad, it doesn't really work so well, but you know, if I want to be fancy. Let's go grab my rectangle. I want to make sure that it's on this line. It's got a coincident constraint there. And this needs to be 4 tab 3, enter. And we're going to dimension this. This needs to be in the center. All right, so if that needs to be in the center, this measurement needs to be 2. So I should have 2, 4, and then 2. That means I have an overall length of 8, which is exactly what I want. Now I can extrude, select my profile, which is the square, and I want to cut. But now the distance here, I only want to cut this in 1.5. Enter. Done. There's part 6 done. Save it. Make sure it's all in the same folder. All right, you should be good to go there. Next, I'm doing these fast, huh? If you're keeping up with me, that's amazing. At least you can pause the video, but I go pretty quick. So good job if you can keep up with me. I'm going to start my new 2D sketch. XY plane. I'm going to start a rectangle. Oh, wait, this one I'm going to do a little differently. This one, instead of doing a subtractive modeling, I'm going to do additive modeling, which means I'm just going to add stuff. I'm not going to cut anything. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to build this little center tower here, we'll call it. And that's going to be 4 tab, what is that, 6? Yeah, 4 tab 6. My notes are a little sloppy. When your notes get a little sloppy, home key, you tend to mess up a little bit. So that's why you should keep good notes. So now I'm just going to finish this sketch, hit the home key, and I'm going to extrude this out 3. 3. Notice how it was automatically highlighted down there, 3. Right? Enter. Home. Now I want to put a new sketch on this surface. And I'm just going to draw those other rectangles right on here. I'm going to hit the home key so I can see. And I know that it has a rectangle that starts on the same corner. And it's shaped something like that. And that something like that has an exact size, which is 5, tab 3, enter. That sketch. Hit the home key so we can all see. And then I can extrude. And I want to add. How much material do I want to add? I want it to be a thickness of 2. Enter. Ooh, fancy. So now I'm just going to click on this corner of the view cube. See what I did there? Just click on the corners and I can spin it. Ah, I am so fancy, huh? Anyway, I'm going to put another sketch right there. And I'm going to start in this corner. And I know it should be, oh look, if I overlap and get close to something, it'll stick right to it. Cool. So all I did was make sure I got a green dot there, and I got a green dot here because it goes out as far as this without any dimensions. Ooh, that's some fancy workflow. And the last time I extruded was a distance of 2, so I don't have to change anything. I can just hit enter, and we are done. So go ahead and save that. All right, additive modeling. Check that out. All right, and then we'll grab a new part file. Let's go into this new part file. Let's see how I want to do this. I'm going to do this by adding a bunch of rectangles together. Let's do that. Let's do that. Start a 2D sketch, XY plane, always starting on the origin here. And what I want to do, so let's do this one carefully. I want to start here. I want to make this Z shape, all right? And then I want to extrude that Z shape. And then I will add something else to it. So I'm doing all additive modeling here. So here we go again. I'm going to start on the origin. It'll snap to the origin, all right? How tall is this? This needs to be 6 tall and 2 wide. So 2 tab 6, enter. Home key so I can see what I've done. And I'm going to finish up these Z shapes. And so I'm just going to start on that corner so they line up. And this is going to stick out an extra 3 blocks and only be 2 here. And similarly, all right, on the bottom piece here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this one actually comes out 4 on the bottom. I had to double check. Sorry for counting that. Again, sometimes 4 tab 2 enter. All right, so that's our Z shape. And again, the better your notes are, the quicker this goes. Now I want to extrude, but now what profiles do I want to select? Okay, I want to select that, that, and that. Oh, look, now I get a Z shape. How far do I want to extrude that? That actually should go 5. Enter. And now we have what looks like is on your paper. And since we also need to add in a little block space in this back corner, so I'm going to rotate my Z, and I'm going to start over here with a new sketch here. I'm going to hit home so I can see, and I just have to add a little bit of a rectangle on this. That is 3 by 2. So it's going to start here at this corner. It's going to go up that tall. Okay. And then, which is exactly 4. And it should be 3. Yep, 3. Like that. Finish my sketch. So it's 3 by 4, and I didn't have to put the 4 in because I made sure that it was already aligned with this line. And then I can just extrude this a distance of 2. Oh no, it's in the wrong direction. How do I flip-flop? By changing directions. Check that out. All right. In that direction. Click OK. Go back to our home view. Ooh, that looks exactly like what's on our paper. So go ahead and save that. So you can see we've done both subtractive and additive modeling here. And since we've planned ahead of time and we've written out all of our measurements ahead of time, we were able to go through very quickly and generate 4 parts. Alrighty. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you all next time.